My inbox starts blowing up yesterday about this Haslab that just got completed. And I'd kept my eyes on it a little bit, but I was getting a play-by-play from some of my close friends, and I was working on this marathon sell-off of a lot of stuff that I've been doing for something else that I'm trying to get done. Been the August and September so far of 2025 for me. And they said, hey, this was like 3 days ago. They said, hey, that thing doesn't look like it's going to fund. And I said, well, how could it? I said, not only have they made that thing, that LAAT gunship or whatever it is, not only have they made that thing like, what, 5 times or something in the past? Like it's at least 5 or 6 different paint jobs with various releases, with various combos of accessories. I said, but it doesn't have good tiers. So nobody's getting excited. This is like the Black Series Rancor all over again in terms of tiers. The Haslabs have had some quality control problems recently with the Optimus Prime, and now they've gone ahead and taken that Proton Pack and re-released it with a slightly different tooling on it, like a revision of it, for $100 less than what the Haslab people paid for it to crowdfund it back during Ghostbusters Afterlife. So Haslab has been, what's the word they use in corporate America? Experiencing some headwinds. The PR on Haslab is not great at the moment in the toy collecting arena. This is one of the first times where, when they announced this Haslab, I saw people that are notorious corporate simps, pro-corporate simps within the toy collector culture, come out and even they said, this don't make no sense. What was Haslab supposed to be? What was the hill that a lot of you guys died on back in 2018 when they announced the sail barge? When myself and a scant few others were saying that could sell at retail. You guys said, no, they've never made this before and it would never sell at retail now. So we have to use a crowd fund. Okay. And it funded at, what was it, $400? And this new drop ship, which is nowhere near 5.5 feet long, and it's $450, but we'll ride right past that. You guys bought into that. The beast is now free to, come out of, the Lonely Mountain and attack Lake Town. And then on the next subsequent view, like the Razor Crest and the Ghost, it was always, well, they would never make these at retail. That's why these things would never be sold at retail. Meanwhile, the Black Series Rancor Haslab tanked, and I point that out to say that Hasbro has completely pulled all real support for the vintage collection. They only put out a smattering of items at retail every year. They want to get away from it, they claim, because they say people only buy 6-inch scale now. And yet 6-inch scale doesn't succeed with crowdfunding. Meanwhile, all of the vintage collection 3 3/4-inch scale Star Wars projects on Haslab have done, up until this one, astronomically well. And so I wonder, with prices rising and tariffs going crazy and the price of plastic going up all the time, because those are Hasbro's constant excuses, why aren't they switching gears and going back to just focusing on the vintage collection as a scale and a run of dominant Star Wars products? Because it seems like people still really want them at that scale so they can world build. Cantina, anyone? But now we get to the point with this drop ship. And you can no longer use the excuse that this thing wouldn't do well at retail. Because it's already been at retail like 5 times. Now I know they say, well, this one's bigger. Okay, it's bigger. But clearly, so many people who usually would come out and support Hasbro's corporate predatory crowdfunding, even they came out and said, yeah, this doesn't make any sense as far as Haslab's stated mission. Haslab's mission statement is, we're going to bring you the dream items that you thought you could never have. Well, we've already had the drop ship 4, 5, 6 times. I don't even remember how many times we've had it. But now it's slightly bigger. That's thin, Riggs. And more than a few people were saying it. The foundations in the whole hype train for these Haslabs amongst the toy collector culture is starting to crack. So then we get to 3 or 4 days before the end of the campaign. It's looking pretty grim. And then all of a sudden there was this boost, and it jumped up to like, they needed 8,000 backers, and it jumped up to like 6,200 or something from 4,800 or something like that. Just like that, just poof. And they weren't there yet, but they were clearly in a better position to weather the next, I don't know, 12, 18 hours, whatever it was. And I saw the chatter and people were saying, oh, well, that's probably the retailers just trying to get in on that, because the retailers who want to buy multiples usually jump in within the last few hours. But even they might not be enough to save this, much like the Rancor, because the tiers aren't any good. And then within the last 7 to 9 hours, whatever it was, the thing broke through. And it got to about, I guess, 9,000 and change number of backers, which means no tiers were unlocked. None. Now, I've seen some of the talk saying, oh, is Hasbro pulling a fast one? I don't think so. It is suspicious timing. Like, it's very suspicious timing. I just think we're still experiencing kind of the death throes of fear of missing out. People weren't happy about this, but when they saw it getting close, even though you don't get the full value for it because you didn't unlock any of the tiers, all these people jumped in at the last minute on an item that doesn't qualify as not having proven itself at retail or never been released. Even though the Mandalorian was super popular and the Razor Crest would have sold at retail, they were able to couch their argument in this, flimsy technicality of, well, it would just never sell. Well, you don't know because you didn't try. Sail Barge, same thing. Ghost, same thing. Mos Eisley Cantina, probably the same thing, given how ravenous people were for it. We could have sold that at retail, but did a bunch of online pre-orders and been done with it. It's just weird to me how the toy culture, the collector culture, has come out and just acquiesced once again to what I'm now calling, the Shartimus principle. I like toys. You're mad about the crowdfund. This time, so mad about it that the rumblings began once the thing was announced. The moment the thing was announced, people were understandably upset. It's like people were finally waking up. But then at the very last second, everybody capitulates. Barely. They didn't get any of the tiers unlocked. So some people have woken up. Some people have said, shenanigans. This isn't worth it. And so now, Hasbro, once again, has been taught the wrong lesson, which is, it's a little tighter this time, but people will buy anything. If you make it, they will buy it. We can shove whatever we want at them, even something that's already been made 5 times. We just have to make it a little bigger. And Hasbro will say, oh, it's economic headwinds and people are tightening their belts, so that's why we didn't have as many people on this Haslab. Could it actually be that the price was too high, the tiers were too lousy, and the item had already been available in 4, 5, 6 other iterations over the last 20 years? Could that not be the actual reason? Haslab is supposed to make your dreams come true. Okay. Where's the Star Destroyer? Where's the Mega Death Star action figure playset? Where is the Bespin Freeze Chamber in Cloud City environment? Where are those? Those are the, if you build it, they will come, kind of situations. Those are the fields of dreams. And I'll chalk the sail barge up in there as one. Like I said, if that had been at retail, I would have bought it. But this doesn't make any sense. And it just seems to me, like Hasbro has trained their buyers. And when you've got websites like Yakface trying to be supplemental marketing monsters for Haslab, you got all these collector websites. A few of the collector websites that have given me a hard time in the past, even they were the ones that were like, yeah, this isn't a good value proposition. It's like, how could it be? Some of them, though, like Yakface, were still hawking this thing, trying to get people to get it across the line so they could get their toy. And so, a toy that's been released 4, 5, 6 times. I can't remember how many gun ships there have been before. I know there have been quite a number of them. It got released again, slightly bigger. And somehow that's a Haslab dream project that was risky. Didn't get any tiers though. So everybody bought the full $450 value without unlocking any of the extra stuff that Hasbro baked into it that you are now walking away from. Well, you're not walking away from it, you're locked out of it. But that means that they get to put a bunch of money back in their pocket that they anticipated would be part of the final value when all those extra things were added. But they weren't added. So, you guys out there who are starting to see this for what it is, kudos. I commend you. But some of you guys are still emboldening Hasbro to keep giving us less while demanding more of our wallet. Are we really going to sit there and say that drop ship was a great candidate for a Haslab and that it was something that really, should be seen as a project of a magnitude of this is the only way we're ever going to get it when we literally already got it? And what does that teach Haslab on the next go around? Do they release the Legacy Falcon again as a Haslab and say, oh, well, this time we've painted it to look exactly like Return of the Jedi? I mean, are they going to build a slightly bigger X-Wing? A slightly bigger TIE fighter? Is that what is now the future of Haslab? Which, you give that mouse a cookie, and back in 2018, you guys gave that mouse the cookie that it wanted. And now they're just pretending like they don't even know what the auspices of this whole endeavor were. Oh, was it about dream projects that have never been done before and possibly could never get done? Oh, I forgot about that. Here, would you like a $350 Tauntaun? That's 3 3/4 inch scale, by the way. Because Black Series stuff doesn't succeed. Only the 3 3/4 inch stuff does. The stuff that Hasbro openly won't support anymore at retail. This situation's a mess. And it's kind of hilarious. It's hilarious to see it's hilarious to see just how much people are willing to spend for so little. And I guess maybe the reason that I'm stymied is there's a crazy juxtaposition going on in my world right now where I'm putting most of my modern toys and stuff like that up for sale, and I'm selling some vintage stuff, and I'm streamlining my collection to try and get it to a place where it's truly the stuff that I'm passionate about, and not just stuff to throw in videos here and there, but to really enjoy my space in a new way after 10 years. And and meanwhile, like if you're a Star Wars prequel guy and you just can't live without this and the other 5 versions didn't cut it, then okay. But I don't think anybody can say with a straight face that this LAAT Republic gunship, or whatever the hell they call it, that this is a Haslab worthy project based on what Hasbro has stated Haslab is supposed to be. And then to watch it just eke across that line thanks to more than likely the help of scalpers. But there will be no extras to go with it. There are no Tonica sisters to go with this thing. There's the... I wait for the day that, and it's fast approaching, that they start charging $35, $40 for a 3 3/4 inch retail vintage collection style figure. And at that point, I would like to know, because what did I tell you Haslab would teach Hasbro? I told you back in 2018 it would teach them that they can gouge us on everything, especially at retail. And they have been enjoying those price gouges every other quarter since then. And here we are. I'll be very interested to see how many of you guys are still hanging on when those action figures are now $40 a hit. And then they announce another Haslab, and it's like something we've already seen a million times before, but just slightly bigger or repainted or whatever, and they're charging $500, maybe even by that time $600. How many of you are going to realize that you got to reclaim your bounty and bounce? Haslab, it's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere.